Welcome to the College Admissions Process Podcast presented by Prep Expert. Prep Expert offers live online SAT and ACT courses with the best score guarantees, instructors, and curriculum. Go to prepexpert.com to guarantee your child's success. I'm also excited to share my book, Straight from the Admissions Office, a review of my biggest takeaways from the first few hundred podcast episodes. It's packed with direct insights from admissions professionals and practical tips to help students and their families navigate the college admissions process. You can find all of the information in the show notes. Welcome to The Cap, where we are here to speak with college reps and other professionals in the field of college admissions to help answer all your questions and guide you through every step of the process. So if you're serious about college admissions, you've come to the right place. Are you ready? Let's talk about it. And now, here's your host, Dr. John Durante. Welcome to The Cap, the College Admissions Process Podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Charlotte Lowe, who's a senior admissions counselor at Seattle University. Charlotte, thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
Yeah, thanks so much, John, for having me here. I'm doing well today. We're amidst our busy reading season, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're so happy to have you. And I was curious, Charlotte, what are some of Seattle University's standout academic programs? And are there any unique areas of study that prospective students and their families should know about?
Yeah, just to give you a brief high-level overview, we have over 60 majors and programs across our four colleges. That includes the College of Arts and Sciences, where you're going to find anything from philosophy to teaching to sociology, psychology, the arts. We have our College of Nursing, our College of Science and Engineering, and our wonderful Albers School of Business and Economics. Now, when it comes to some standout programs at Seattle U, we are really well known for our nursing program. We've been recognized as the #1 nursing program within the state of Washington. And as I may have mentioned, these are all direct entry programs. So that means that when a student is applying to Seattle University as a senior in high school or a transfer student, maybe they went to community college as well, they have the opportunity to apply directly into their desired major of study. So when we review that application, we're not just reviewing a student for admission to Seattle U, but we're reviewing them for admission to mechanical engineering or to nursing, to diagnostic ultrasound. But to get to the answer to your question of our standout programs, that College of Nursing offers a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, as well as diagnostic ultrasound. So folks interested in sonography, we are the only 4-year institution in the state of Washington to offer that program. And then criminal justice offers a unique program of forensic science and forensic psychology. So I meet a lot of students on the road who are interested in those areas.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you so much for the overview. Over 60 majors and programs in 4 different colleges, including arts and sciences, your College of Nursing, science and engineering, and of course, business. Now, you talked a lot about your College of Nursing. First off, that it's a direct entry program. I was curious in terms of activities that students participate in while in high school, outside of their schools, outside of the classroom. Is there anything that you're looking for in particular for those very competitive nursing programs?
Yeah, definitely. So for some of our programs at Seattle University, including nursing, for direct entry, we are going to look for specific coursework taken in high school to directly admit them to that area of study. So for nursing, we're going to want to see a student taking biology and chemistry, both with those lab components. We want to see 4 years of college preparatory math, including pre-calculus or its equivalent class, or a higher level math. That can be taken or what we call in progress, meaning you're taking it your senior year when we're reviewing your application. When it comes to outside of the classroom, it's always great to see a student who's had health or health-related volunteer experience. But we also know that that is not accessible to all students to get those opportunities. But so that's not something that would be counted against you, but also just something wonderful to see. Being a Jesuit school, we're really mission driven. So with all of our applicants, it's wonderful to see a really well-rounded student who's engaged in their community, whether that's through community service, club leadership, things like that.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you so much. And how does Seattle University leverage its location in Seattle to connect students with internships, research opportunities, and of course, career networks?
Yeah, so Seattle University, for those of you who might not be as familiar, is located right in the heart of the city of Seattle, Washington. We are located in this neighborhood called Capitol Hill. It's a really vibrant neighborhood to be living in as a young individual. And it's also just a hub, a network that reaches far out to Fortune 500 companies. We're within walking distance of five major medical centers, so some of which our nursing students are doing their clinical placements and their practicum or their full time in their hospital their senior year. One of them houses our 20,000 square foot clinical performance lab. And so we really leverage that location by supporting our students on a one-to-one basis to meet that wide breadth of opportunity. I think Seattle is a really wonderful place to explore your professional development and your pathway. But that one-to-one support that we have from our staff and our faculty at SU is really what makes that difference for students succeeding in those roles. So we have our Albers Career Center, which is specific career advising and support for our business students. So it's really tailored to students within that specific college. We have our Project Center, which is our year long industry sponsored senior design project that all engineering and computer science students will do. So it's almost like a guaranteed internship or professional opportunity that a student will have before they graduate as a senior. And overall, we have an all encompassing career engagement office that supports students from figuring out where where their passions lie and how that kind of intersects with a career pathway. We have anything from resume building to mock interviews to career treks. So there are many different ways that we take advantage of our location. And as I mentioned, that Jesuit mission is really important, right? So we also want to give back to our community and be involved in the Capitol Hill area. So our Albers School has students providing tax services to local businesses in the area. We really have a strong emphasis on the immediate services in our neighborhood. So our Seattle University Youth Initiative with local schools in the area is something that we're really well known for. So again, that community engagement piece is also critical to professional formation.
Well, definitely the community engagement piece is important along with the many opportunities in the great city of Seattle. It really does sound like you have something for everyone. And of course, the students listening and their families, they're very important about the application review process at Seattle University. So, what is your approach to reviewing applications and what are the key attributes you look for in your prospective students?
Yeah, when we're reviewing applications at Seattle U, when we're reviewing those Common Apps from first year students in particular from the high school side, we're going to do a true holistic review of that application. And it's timely that we're chatting about this now as I am reading many applications each day and each week right now as we're reviewing these regular decision students. And so we're really looking for a well-rounded student, a student who reflects the mission. Our mission at Seattle University is to educate the whole person to professional formation and empower leaders for a more just and humane world. And these aren't just words that we have, posted up around the school, but they're really values that guide how we approach academics, how we approach student engagement, and how we approach our admissions process as well. You'll find the staff and faculty very aligned with that. And so we want to invite students to our campus who are going to be great community members. So this balance of academic excellence and community engagements. As I mentioned, the prerequisites for nursing earlier, we do have prerequisites for other majors and programs, such as the majors within the Albert School of Business. For those students, we're going to want to see a really strong math foundation. We do prefer pre-calculus or higher level math taken. For those interested in the natural sciences, really strong foundation in biology and chemistry, as well as that math with pre-calculus or higher. If you're really interested in our engineering programs, we'd love to see a physics class taken as well. So that's when it comes to some tangible things we'd love to see on the application. But we want to see that you're involved in outside of the classroom as well as really thriving in your coursework. I do recommend to students when I speak with them, I recommend that they take the classes that are well fit to them, and that will really show through on the application. Don't bog yourself down with the full running start series or the AP classes, the IB diploma, if you're really going to struggle in those classes and it's not going to support your well being. If you're going to thrive in those standard level classes, we'd love to see that.
Well, that's terrific. And early in your response, you talked about your mission and values. So, Charlotte, how important is it for a student throughout their overall application to demonstrate that they understand the mission and values at Seattle University and try to indicate in different parts how it's in line with what they've done in high school and what they hopefully will continue to do once they're on your campus? How do you evaluate something like that in the overall review?
Yeah, in the overall review, we can see that in a variety of places, right? We can see that in the activities that they list in the Common App. So, for instance, oh, this person's really involved in service across these years. We see maybe a student talk about something that kind of alludes to our mission alignment in their personal statement. Sometimes for a student, it pops out, and as we read those letters of recommendation, we have their counselor speak about this student or this teacher speak about what this student is like engaging in the classroom. But we also have an opportunity. We have two optional supplemental questions right now in our application. One is a belonging essay. This is optional again, as I mentioned. So students have the opportunity to speak about an experience of belonging for them. That's something super important to us as a university. And then another question is why SU? Why do you want to be part of this community? Why are you interested in Seattle University? And so that's another very pointed opportunity for a student to speak to that mission.
Well, we really appreciate that overview. And of course, Seattle University, like so many other schools, is in fact test optional. Charlotte, how should applicants decide whether or not to submit their standardized test scores? And in what cases might submitting scores be beneficial?
Yes, you are correct. We are a test optional institution. And there are a few different notes I'd like to share about us being test optional. Students are more than welcome to check out our middle 50% of test scores. We have that range for both the ACT and the SAT. And that middle 50% for the ACT is going to be around an 1160 to a 1360. And for the ACT, that middle 50% is a 24 to a 30 composite score. And so as you find yourself looking at these ranges, kind of see where you fall in line with those. And at the same time, I want to provide the context that these are the test scores and the ranges and the averages of students who have chosen to submit those test scores. So sometimes that can skew a little higher on the spectrum there. So I encourage students to submit that test score if you think it's an accurate reflection of you academically as a student. If you feel great about your test score, go ahead and submit that if you think that reflects you as a student. I will note if you are applying to one of those majors that I talked about that has prerequisites like nursing, diagnostic ultrasound, the business majors, science and engineering. You have not taken a pre-calculus class, for instance. Maybe your high school doesn't offer it. Maybe you're not on the math track to take pre-calculus by the time you are a senior. And maybe you knocked it out of the park with the ACT or the SAT. That's when I would also recommend submitting that test score.
Well, we appreciate that overview. And of course, Charlotte, the transcript is a key component in terms of the academic review portion of the application. How does Seattle University weigh course rigor versus GPA in the admissions process? In other words, we know that not all GPAs are created equally. So, can you share what you look for when reviewing a student's transcript?
Yeah, I always like to share with students and families that when we review applications, we are sent a school profile from each individual high school that allows us to understand and read the student's individual transcript within the context of that high school. As you mentioned, with GPAs being different across high schools, sometimes they're on 6.0 scales, sometimes they're on 4.0. Some
Hmm.
schools don't have weighted classes, others do. And so, in that instance, we do recalculate GPAs so that they all fall within the same comparable scale and area. So, when we review applications, we are able to do that on a more equitable standpoint as well. When we're looking at rigor, that's really where that school profile is going to come in. So some students worry, like, I don't have any, or my school does not have AP, IB, dual enrollment offerings. Um, I I tell those students, rest assured that we can see that through the school profile, and we can understand the rigor of the coursework that they are taking by reading that information.
Well, I appreciate you sharing the fact that you recalculate the GPA, which I totally understand as there are thousands of high schools throughout the country and beyond, and no two schools are identical. So you pointed to the fact that you look at the school profile to see, first of all, what is the rating scale, what is the number of courses in terms of AP or IB that are available, are things weighted or not. So there's so much to take into account. And we always say it's important for the students and the families to be familiar with your school's profile. But as a follow up, in terms of your recalculation, are you recalculating grades 9 through 11 or just 10 and 11? How does it work?
Yeah, so in those recalculations, when we look at the transcript, we're going to look at for early action students, students applying by November 15th, we're going to look through grades 9 through 11, and we can see what classes are in progress their senior year. For those in progress classes, let's say a student's taking AP Bio, AP Chem their senior year, it's really wonderful to see. But when we are examining the rigor, we're primarily looking at grades 9 through 11. Now, I do have some students who apply regular decision, and by that point in January, that January 15th deadline, some students are able to submit their seventh semester transcript. So that first snippet of their senior year, those 12th grade transcripts. And so some of those regular decision students are able to submit those, and we will take those into account in that review process, as well as the GPA recalculations.
Understood. And Charlotte, can you share what is your institutional priority in terms of the number of freshmen you want to enroll as an incoming class and how many applications do you actually receive overall?
Yeah, great question, John, and very timely as we have just hit our high
Hmm.
record of over 10,000 applications received this year. It's the most applications we've received in institution history, so it's a really
Congrats.
exciting time for Seattle U, especially in the admissions office. But in terms of the class that we are enrolling, so just to give again an overview of our student body, we have around 4,200 undergrads. In this year right now, we're looking to enroll an incoming class of a little over 900.
Fantastic. So you're looking to enroll a current incoming class of a little over 900, as you put it, and you're getting over 10,000 applications. So I'd like to share those numbers just so people understand the overall application process because sometimes, a student might be, for example, rejected and they think, oh my, it must have been my personal statement or what have you. But many times it's just the sheer numbers. So we like to share that just to give insight to students and their families. Now, you mentioned the personal statements earlier, and I was curious, what are some common pitfalls students should avoid when writing their personal statements? And can you share examples of how a unique personal statement really elevated an application?
Definitely. We have the great honor of reading students' personal statements, and it's a really special part of this job, especially in that reading season of being able to kind of get a peek into a student's story and learn a little bit more about them beyond what we already see in the pre-filled out areas of their application. And I think that's really where I want to start. And what I speak to students about so often is that personal essay and the personal statement is supposed to be used to communicate to us in admissions something that we don't already see on that application. We can see the courses that you've taken. We can see that you played soccer for 4 years and that you do community service on the weekends. But we want to learn something about that student and that student specifically. That's also a really key component. We want to learn about you. I've read some really wonderful essays about someone's sister who is their best friend or how their mom inspires them and some really well written essays, but by the end of reading that statement I just learned about how amazing their mom is and I'm like, cool, I'd love to meet your mom, she sounds great, or how much of a mentor your basketball coach was, but I didn't really learn too much about you, the student. I also remind students that you don't have to divulge the most like challenging experience that you've ever had in your personal statement. If that's something that's true to you and important to you that you want to share, you're more than welcome to share that. But you can really get creative with this personal statement. One that I remember very clearly was a student who applied a couple years ago, and she wrote about her water bottle and the little free like rubber silicone bands that you might get at like an event or something, and she stacked
Right.
them all up on her water bottle. And she told a story about how that reflected her identity and her journey and kind of where she's going. And that was something that was unique that stood out to me. So it doesn't need to be there's no cookie cutter answer to a personal statement, but we can really tell when it's true to that student.
This is your host, John Durante, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome back Sean Patel, who's the founder and CEO of Prep Expert. Sean, welcome back.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me. And I'm so excited to announce that Prep Expert is the official title sponsor of the College Admissions Process podcast. This has been a partnership in the works for a while now, and I'm so glad we got it off the ground. We're so excited to work with families, parents, students of the College Admissions Process podcast at Prep Expert to help them through our live online SAT and ACT courses not only improve their SAT and ACT scores, but help them get into college as well as win hundreds of thousands of dollars in college scholarships. Thank you so much for the partnership, and we are so excited to work with your families.
Thank you, Sean. And to learn more about how Prep Expert can support your child's academic journey, visit prepexpert.com today, and best wishes to all. Well, I appreciate you talking about the fact that students need to communicate something that the admissions reps are not already seeing about them in other parts of the application. And very specifically, students, make it about you. We talk many times about how if you're writing about a family member, the mistake oftentimes is that you're writing about the family member 90% of the time, and you might mention a little something about yourself. And it really should be the other way around. If you choose to write about a family member, perhaps set the tone, maybe 10% of the overall personal statement about the family member, but 90% of it has to be about you. Because if the admissions reps read the personal statement and they're not learning anything new about you, it really is a missed opportunity. The other thing is that a lot of times people get really tied up on the topic, and it's really not so much about the topic, but it's about whatever topic you choose. How do you use that to really shed light in terms of who you are? What is your thought process, your reflection? How did you pivot if something happened? So that, again, when an admissions reps reads the personal statement, they learn something new about you. So how important is it, Charlotte, for applicants to engage with the college through, for example, campus visits, virtual events, or other outreach opportunities? And does this have any impact on their chances of admission? In other words, does Seattle University consider demonstrated interest in your overall application review?
Yeah, John, before I answer that question, I just want to jump back to that essay discussion we were just having, just to add one little more snippet there. When I've worked with students in college application, college essay writing workshops, something that I recommend to them as well is that they write down, maybe like on a sticky note, here are the main takeaways, 2 or 3 takeaways that I want my reader to take away from my essay. Have a peer, have your English teacher, have your college counselor, another trusted advisor read that essay and ask them to tell you what they learned about you and see how closely those align. That can really help in the editing process, and that editing is really important as well. Don't forget, like a tab and an indentation in a paragraph can go a long way in an essay. Ideally, that essay is not one large paragraph block, but provide a paragraph or two. That structure is also very helpful for
Right.
us readers in the application process.
Well, I appreciate you talking about listing what are the takeaways, right? What is it that you're trying to portray in the essay? And yes, you talk to your English teacher, talk to a friend, and see if in fact that's coming through in the essay. We appreciate that. So going back to the question about demonstrated interest, how does it come into play or not in your overall application review?
Yeah, John, we are a school that takes into account demonstrated interest in the admissions process. So, what that looks like for us at Seattle University is, maybe, did you attend a high school visit? All of our counselors, all of our admissions counselors at Seattle University have recruitment regions all across the United States. We have an international team. We have a transfer team as well. And we often go visit your high school in some of our key regions, such as like California, Colorado, especially here in the state of Washington, in Oregon, Idaho. Um, and we'd love to see you at your high school. We go to regional college fairs. I also understand that it might be hard to visit campus. Visiting campus is a great way to show demonstrated interest, but we know for folks, especially coming from out of state, flying is a big commitment. And while we would love to have you on campus, and that is something that I always recommend at the end of the day to a student or family. If you can't make that happen, attend a virtual info session. Take yourself on the virtual tour on our website. Meet with your admissions counselor virtually. We offer virtual appointments throughout the school year or can arrange them on a case by case basis. So, those are some ways that a student can show demonstrated interest throughout the admissions process, not just as a senior in high school. So, we can see that from the first point of contact that we have with a student, can be even as a freshman.
So it points again to the importance of demonstrating your interest, students. First of all, in the case of Seattle University, they do track it and they do use it as part of their process. But perhaps even more important, demonstrating your interest gives you the ability to really do your research about the institution to determine whether or not it is in fact the right fit for you. So whether a school reports tracking demonstrated interest, it's important to do it again as part of your own research. Now, Charlotte, what types of financial aid and scholarship opportunities are available at Seattle University, and how can students best position themselves for those merit-based awards?
Yeah, John. So we are a private institution here in the state of Washington. So if you are a student listening or a parent listening who is local to Washington State, our out of state and in state tuition is the same. Just want to start out with that because we are a private school. With merit scholarship and need based aid, those are the two main areas of financial aid that I like to talk about. I like to share with students and families and counselors that I encourage all students to apply if they are interested in Seattle University and then see what they receive in financial aid awards. Work with your counselor, work with our financial aid team to really process that out of pocket costs afterwards. We have pretty robust support when it comes to financial aid at Seattle U. 100% of our students who just moved in this fall in 2024 received financial aid from us. That average package was $47,300 a year. So that does cut down the cost of attendance a really good chunk. For merit-based scholarships, these are scholarships that all students who apply to Seattle University are considered for. They typically range from around $15,000 a year to $30,000 a year, and you should know your merit scholarship at the point of admission. So let's say you're an early action applicant, you apply, you get admitted, you can celebrate. You should receive that admissions decision by the end of December of your senior year. And you should know your merit scholarship at that point of admission. That's locked in for all 4 years that you are a full-time student. And then the best way to position yourself in terms of merit scholarship, a lot of the merit scholarships are focused on, but not limited to the transcript. So doing well in your classes, the rigor also is a component there. But again, as I mentioned earlier, we want to see you thrive in coursework that is fit to you for a student rather than really struggle through the AP, the IB, the dual enrollment class. The other piece is need-based aid. So we really encourage students to file for the FAFSA, or if you're in the state of Washington, it might be the WASFA for you, where you can see what's available to you in the form of need-based aid. That might look like loans, that's money that you do have to pay back, grants, so money that you do not have to pay back, and you do not know what's available to you until you file for the FAFSA.
Well, we appreciate that. And one other thing that I'll add to your very comprehensive answer is check out the net price calculator. Sometimes it's as simple as searching Seattle University net price calculator. And the more honest you are in filling out the net price calculator, the better result you're going to get in terms of giving you a window about more or less how much you're going to pay if, in fact, you're going to Seattle University. So for listeners who may not be familiar with the common data set, Charlotte, Can you explain what it is and how prospective students and their families can use this resource to help them with their college search and really get a better understanding of Seattle University, such as admissions and financial aid data, along with student demographics?
Definitely, John. Yeah, so the common data set, this is public information that any accredited four-year institution submits publicly and is available for any student, family, counselor, individual to access. It allows you to not just look at the data year over year for that specific university, but since all universities are providing this data, you can look at it from a very comparable standpoint. Since they have the same data points, you can really compare and contrast easily across the universities, the colleges that you are looking at, that you're considering, that you're applying to, that you've been admitted to. Some of the information that might be helpful for a student to look at when looking at the common data set might be the enrollment rates, the retention rates by class, the demographics that range from gender to race and ethnicity. You can see the not just the enrollment, but also the persistence as well. You can see statistics and numbers around how many students are receiving Pell Grants. And to dissect that information into to analyze that, when you look at first to second year retention, for instance, you can really tell how first year students are supported on campus. That kind of just means how many students are really coming to Seattle University, for instance, and they're choosing to stay that next year. So that can be a teller on like academic support or just community engagement and belonging for students on campus, things with that span campus life and academics.
Well, we appreciate that. And again, it's just another resource. As you said, every college has it. Do a simple search. Again, in this case, Seattle University Common Data Set. And again, it's just a resource, another resource to help you determine whether or not a school is the right fit for you. This has been an awesome conversation, Charlotte. Before I get to the last question, I like to ask, are there any questions that I didn't ask or a topic that I simply didn't bring up that you'd like to share with us at this point?
No, you had some wonderful questions, John, and I think we hit a lot of great topics. I think I just want to back to that financial aid question. I really forgot to mention there app fee waivers. Many schools have them. When you are applying to schools, sometimes that can cost $65, $70 per application. And I know that can add up for families. And we want to make at least that application right. And hopefully, when you come to college, that process as accessible as possible to as many students and families as possible. So, for Seattle University, at least, if you qualify for the SAT, ACT fee waiver, if you are coming from a Jesuit or Catholic high school, we have a fee waiver for you as well. And there's a long list that you can find on our website, likely on many other university college websites as well. And so it's really important to check that out so you can see how accessible it is to apply, and then again see later what you receive in that financial aid.
Well, that's great advice because students are applying to many colleges, and yes, it definitely gets expensive. So, again, we appreciate that. And again, this has been awesome, Charlotte. Unfortunately, it does lead us to the last question, which is what are your top three pieces of advice that you would provide students and their families getting ready for the college admissions process?
Yeah, great, John. It's been wonderful speaking with you today. And my top three pieces of advice would be around that area of demonstrated interest, the school reflection, and how you're overall generally engaging with the admissions process. So, that first part of demonstrated interest, whether it's visiting campus or if we are in your area, make an effort to attend that high school visit or college fair. Ultimately, make that connection with your admissions counselor. At Seattle University, for instance, we read the applications of the students in our region. So if you are a student of mine and you reach out to me and we have that touch point, the likelihood is a lot higher that when I pull up your application, I'm like, oh, like I got to connect with John when we were talking earlier in the fall. And although I didn't see him when I was at his high school, we've had a few touch points here or there. And it helps me understand that student a bit more as well, not just the student learning more about the university. The next piece is that area of self reflection. When students and families are looking at colleges and universities, oftentimes they're inundated with so many emails with stats, the brochures that they get at the college fairs, which are super helpful. A lot of students and families look immediately to the stats of student to faculty ratio, undergraduate enrollment number, average class size, that sticker price as well, success rate within 6 months of graduating from college. Those are all really common data points to look at, and common for good reason. Those are important ones to look at. But I also encourage students to ask themselves those broader questions that you might not have a quick number response to, such as, is community important to me? If so, what do I want my community to look like in college? What folks do I want to surround myself with? How do I want to be challenged? What specific support systems do I think I need in order to be successful, both as a person and as a student in college? Now, I know those questions, like if I looked in a mirror right now and tried to answer those myself, I might not have an answer right away, but they can be really helpful guiding principles. Let your values and the reflections of these questions guide you in that process. And then last, if you can't visit a specific college that you are looking at, try visiting colleges near you. If you are in an area that has maybe a mix of, like if you're in the Bay Area, for instance, and you can't come up to Seattle University immediately, go check out a state school, a UC school, a Jesuit school in your backyard, a private institution. You can see the range of what maybe a large public school looks like, the state schools, private school, what a Jesuit Catholic institution might be like. And then you can kind of get a pulse for what that might feel like. Maybe it's not the school that you're going to apply to, but utilize what's in your backyard as well.
Well, that's great advice because, to your point, it does get expensive to visit, particularly if you have to take an airplane ride. So, the fact that hopefully there are many colleges within an hour or two driving distance, it's good. Even if you don't intend to apply to those schools, it's good to just visit campuses so that you start to get a feel of things that you want in a college or university. So, Charlotte, this has been phenomenal. I can't thank you enough. I do want to have you back in the future. We appreciate your time today.
Thanks so much, John. It's been wonderful. Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks to our listeners.
It's our pleasure. And to everyone out there, thank you so much for listening. Good luck to all and best wishes with the college search. Take care, all. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the CAP, the College Admissions Process Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please don't forget to tell a friend and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. I am your host, John Durante, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the CAP. Thank you for listening to the College Admissions Process Podcast presented by Prep Expert. Prep Expert offers live online SAT and ACT courses with the best score guarantees, instructors, and curriculum. Go to prepexpert.com to guarantee your child's success.